G'day guys, Ballsy here again. I'm with Brad from Outback Armour and I'm going through some other questions. And all of these about suspension. Well, we're trying to make them all about suspension. Now Brad, last time we went over leaf springs and coil springs and different uses of them. You've got on your hands what some of us call bump stops, and other members of the four drive community or suspension community correctly call them Jounce stops. Either way, we're talking about the same thing.
Not quite.
Thank you for that correction. See, we all make assumptions, and when we ask these questions, we get the right answer. So please correct us and give us the correct information.
All right, a bump stop is the final thing. So a bump stop is used to control the bottoming out. So it's hard, it's solid, and when you hit it, it basically stops the travel suddenly. A jounce stop is designed to be a softer control. So a bump stop would normally only be about that high. The jounce stop's a lot higher. So as the control arm comes down, it actually comes in and slows the moment down till this then becomes a bump stop. So it compresses and then all of a sudden becomes a bump stop. Same with this one here. The original bump stop is only a quarter of the height. It's solid rubber. This one here allows the compression to come down, so it slows the rate down. What that virtually does is increases either the rate of the coil or the rate of the leaf spring to control the ride.
So, they're the basics. Now, I have an important question here, because if I put these on my car, I find my back doesn't suffer when we bottom out and hit the odd washout that you don't expect. We've all done it, come around a blind corner, big washout, can't safely slow down and stop quick enough, so you wash off as much speed as you can. You then gently accelerate or hold speed through it, and guess what? You still bottom out. But with these, it tends to be a lot more friendly on my back, but also the suspension, but that's my assumption. Fill in the gaps, please.
Again, that's right. Depending on obviously the particular leaf spring or coil spring, the package, what you've got and weight and everything like that.
Yep.
Again, with the leaf spring, this jounce stop, it's got a bracket on it, is designed to sit on there. Chassis rails up here, so then they come down. Instead of it just going bang, if you hit that big washout, that big woe boy, that holy crap moment, this basically slows it down at that point. So you don't feel that big bang, your chassis rail doesn't take that big bang, it makes everything, it just slows the motion down gradually. A lot of people may be aware of stuff that the race cars use, which is sort of where this technology comes from, with their hydraulic bump stops.
And we can't all afford hydro bump stops in all of our daily drivers, okay? Like, it would be silly for us to spend stupid money to do that when this is filling in that gap perfectly for us at an affordable price without wasting money that we could be spending on beer in the fridge.
The big thing there with the hydraulics is you've got to weld, manufacture everything else. These are purely a plug and play unit. So when you're doing the suspension, the bump stop comes off originally, U-bolts go back over, goes back onto the leaf spring, back into the vehicle, done. So it's a very simple and easy and low cost added extra to help you save you from when you're out there in the track.
Awesome. One thing I've noticed is that my shocks don't show as anywhere near sign of wear when I abuse the living crap out of it testing gear. We'll go on these drives and come back, and normally the shock will be pretty hammered from bottoming out, hitting them washouts and random potholes and whatever else holy crap moments we get. Normally the shocks after a trip like that, we come back and they're pretty, you can tell they're pretty hammered, and sometimes you'll have the odd one, regardless of the brand, leaking. But when we run these bump stops, we find, yes, they got wear like they should have, but guess what? They don't look anywhere near as hammered, because instead of bashing onto the chassis rails like we would have, it's a bit more progressive and a bit more softer landing, so to speak. It's not a perfect solution. Obviously, having hydro bump stops and every other fancy race shock you imagine you could to do that, we don't all have massive wallets to pour money into that. So this is a good affordable way to look after your suspension and to look after your car and also your backside.
It's a lot cheaper than replacing your suspension.
That's it. That's it. Right, Brad. On the front end, you showed us this Jounce stop here. I have a lot of customers, even though this is designed mainly if you've got a bar and winch. If someone does like to have a heavier right pedal, I actually recommend people fit one of these to the front end on their IFS truck. Now I say IFS, independent front suspension, as in a dual cab Ranger or a Navara or something like that. These are rather handy because it does soften the blow if you tend to have a right foot and go through the whoops a bit harder. It does look after your gear and also your back. So next time we'll ask some other questions about suspension, and I really appreciate you helping us out, Brad. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
See you next time, guys, and comment below.